Specs in the City is the 11th episode of the 25th season of The Simpsons, directed by Kramer. And I think this was a pretty interesting episode. I'll deal with the main part of the narrative in a moment, but we also have a subplot involving Bart being forced to give Nelson a Valentine's card. The class has set a rule that you have to give a Valentine's card to everybody in your class. The reason there, of course, is that you don't feel like anybody's feeling left out. But Bart, quite rightly, says that he doesn't want to give a Valentine's card to a bully. But Nelson demands one and will bully Bart if he doesn't give him one, ever the irony. And Bart has to find a solution to this. And I won't say what Bart ultimately does, but I think it was a really good direction. And I also think it provides some food for thought about classes that make children give cards to everybody. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think it's not as black and white as don't give them to everybody, people are left out, give them to everybody, everybody's happy, because it might be quite difficult for a child to give their bully. We didn't give Valentine's Day cards, but we did give Christmas cards, and it was generally the rule that if you're going to give them, you give them to the whole class. And I imagine that it might be quite difficult to give one to somebody who makes your life a misery. That's not obviously quite the relationship Bart has with Nelson, but I thought it was a pretty interesting topic, and he did a really good job with addressing it, and I really enjoyed it. The main narrative focuses on these augmented reality glasses, I think they were called Oogle Goggles, that Mr. Burns gives to all of the employees. Fantastic! What a nice gift! However, he uses them to spy on his employees, and it's pretty cool. I wish we could play more with the idea of that big screen where Burns could see all of the different glasses, because I think they could have had a lot more fun with that and got a lot more comedy out of that. Homer briefly sees it and we see what a couple of people are doing. They could have lent into that a bit more, but Homer actually sees Marge wearing them because Marge has had enough of Homer wearing them in, shall we say, intimate moments, so she says, right, I'll have them, which, to be fair, not really her place to do so, since it was a company issued gift and not something that even Homer bought himself. But nevertheless, she puts them on and Homer realizes that he can spy on her as she wears them going about her day, and he sees her doing something that concerns him. And it raises the moral question of what would you do in that situation? Because he can't tell Marge he knows without confessing to spying on her. Now, to be honest, I feel like this could have been over in a second if we just acknowledged the fact that he could have said, hey, I've just learned Mr. Burns was spying on us. I accidentally saw you doing something while I learned that. It actually could have been over in a heartbeat, but they decided not to go down that route. In their defense, Homer probably wouldn't have had the ability to think that logically, as rarely he does, particularly when panicked, which he was with this information. And I think it raised some interesting points, and I thought it was quite a decent narrative. I thought it worked very well. I think everything flowed in a way that was satisfying. The pacing was really good. Absolutely no complaints at all. It may not be one of my favourite episodes, but there was nothing that I think should have been done differently. I enjoyed it all. I feel like the screens, they could have done so much more with what the employees were doing. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that. But other than that, Specs in the City is a good episode and one that I'd be happy to watch again.